Alright, so as long-range precision shooting becomes increasingly popular, there are a lot of people who are attempting to get into the sport of long-range precision shooting. And there's a handful of things that are almost a requirement to be successful at that task. That's what we're going to talk about today. The handful of things that you're going to need to allow you to be successful at long-range precision shooting. So first off, we'll start with the rifle, or with the rifle. So obviously a rifle is going to be a requirement. There's a lot of misconceptions around rifles for long-range shooting. There's a lot of people who, even today, do not attempt to get into long-range precision shooting, even though they desire to, because they think that they cannot afford a purpose-built custom rifle set up for the task of long-range shooting. And that is just not the case. While a rifle like this will lend itself to allowing you to be more successful at long-range precision shooting, more accurate, more consistent, it is absolutely not a requirement. So I have videos on this rifle here, many videos, this is a Remington 783, chambered in .308 Winchester, just a very bare bones hunting style rifle. And I have videos, I actually did a series on this where we talk about the entire setup, the way it sits, and it came in just under $750. So for $750, I have videos taking this particular rifle in this setup out to distances beyond 1,500 yards. I have videos shooting this thing in that series that we did. I have videos shooting sub-half MOA groups at beyond 800 yards. So if you have a rifle like this, you just have to understand what you have and understand the limitations of your rifle, and you can be successful at long-range precision shooting. So don't let it deter you if you cannot afford a purpose-built precision rifle. Beyond that, the AR-15 is the most popular rifle in America. This particular AR-15 is chambered in .65 Grendel. Now, the standard 5.56 cartridge that most AR-15s come chambered in is capable of being stretched out to much further distances than most people realize. But there are now, in the recent years, have been cartridges introduced that allow you to take a standard size AR-15 package and stretch it out to much further distances. This here is the 6.5 Grendel. I have many videos shooting the 6.5 Grendel out to some much further distances than you're going to be able to stretch out a 5.56 to. Also, I have many videos with the 224 Valkyrie, which is another one of those cartridges that allows you to stretch out a 5.56 sized chamber to much further distances. And now they even are introducing the 6mm ARC, which is kind of the new cartridge that just came out. I actually have a barrel on the way for the 6mm ARC. I'm really excited for it to get here. As soon as it does, I'll be putting that into an upper and cranking out some videos with it. And there are other cartridges as well. But there are many different little cartridges that allow you to take a standard AR-15 and just swap uppers and be off to the races with a rifle that allows you to shoot out to much further distances than just the standard 5.56. So just because you cannot afford or don't have a purpose-built custom rifle set up for long-range precision shooting does not mean you can't still get into long range. So I actually have a little video that I did a while back on picking a rifle cartridge and rifle for your first long-range precision rifle. And in that video, we discuss all the different styles of rifles, whether it's AR-10, which AR-10 is another great way to get into long-range precision shooting. It allows you to have the standard .308, which is obviously a cartridge that is capable of long-range shooting, and on top of that, be chambered in almost any of the short-action cartridges that are on the market. So there are a lot of different ways to get into long-range precision shooting that don't require a purpose-built custom rifle. The next thing you're going to need is a scope. So there are people who do long-range shooting with diopter sights and peep sights, but for the most part, long-range precision shooting requires some sort of high-powered optic. And there's another common misconception when it comes to optics. For the longest time, the misconception was that it is going to require spending $1,500 plus on a scope that will allow you to be successful at long-range precision shooting. And just like in the case of the rifle, while a high-end scope like that will lend itself to allowing you to be more successful easier, it is by no means a requirement. Scopes have come such a long way in just the recent years that prices have come down so much and quality has went up so much that it costs much less to have a high-quality scope with all the features that you need to be successful at precision shooting. I have many videos with the scope that is on this 6.5 Grendel right now, which this is just an Athlon Argos, like a $300 scope. And I have many videos taking this thing out to even distances beyond 2,000 yards in my old 300 Win Mag. So, and this is a $300 budget style scope in first focal plane. So scopes are another common misconception where you do not particularly have to spend the large amounts of money that people will tell you that you need to spend to have a scope that will allow you to be successful. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is ammo. Now, ammo is one place where cutting corners is not something that you really can do. There are basically two ways to be successful at precision shooting, with long-range precision shooting with your ammo. First off is hand loading. That is the most recommended way. Hand loading allows you to work up a load that is tuned to your particular rifle and squeeze the most accuracy and the most precision out of that rifle. But if you can't afford to hand load, if you're not set up for hand loading, or hand loading is not something you have a desire to get into, then the only other way to shoot long-range precision without hand loads is factory match ammo. So factory match ammo has come down a significant amount in price in recent years. It is still going to be more expensive than just standard run-of-the-mill ammo, but factory match ammo will typically allow you to get much more accuracy, much lower standard deviations, and allow you to stretch out your factory or your precision rifles out to much further distances and be much more consistent. So factory match ammo is going to be a necessity if you're not planning to hand load. The next thing we're going to talk about is bipods or some sort of front rest. So I have a video that I did recently on many different types of bipods and the stability that you can get from each type of bipod. There are many different types of bipods on the market. I have in that video we did bipods ranging from $40 to just under $500. And each one of those bipods allows a different type of stability, a different amount of stability in a different way. So if you have any questions on picking a bipod, or if you're not typically interested in a bipod, you can even use a front rest or a bag. But some way to stabilize the front end of your rifle is going to be a requirement to be stable and steady for shots at long range. Next up is going to be some sort of rear bag or toe support. So a monopod or some sort of rear bag. There are many different types of rear bags on the market. Each type of rear bag typically has a different type of use, and many of them have many different uses. So I actually plan to do a video here before too long on different types of rear bags and their uses. But if you plan to shoot long range precision, you need some way to stabilize the toe of your rifle to allow you to be steady enough to be successful at long range. The next thing you're going to need is some sort of way to figure out your ballistic drop. So some sort of ballistic solver, or if not a ballistic solver, some sort of way to shoot some sort of log book that allows you to shoot your rifle, figure out your drops, and then write it down and notate it. But you are going to need some way to notate your drop. Now, I recommend ballistic solvers. My preferred ballistic solver is Applied Ballistics. There are many different ballistic solvers on the market, but ballistic solvers allow you to run the numbers of your ballistic coefficient, your velocity, and your particular rifle, and then get a printed out drop chart, or get a drop chart that gives you a very good representation of what your rifle is going to do, and then you can go on and true that chart up to match your actual drops. And then once you have your drops figured out at whatever distances you're shooting, you write each of those down in your logbook. And once you have them wrote down, you can simply just go back and reference what the atmospheric conditions that day to your current atmospheric conditions, and be very close to, or if not dead on, to the right amount of drop in your current conditions. So some sort of way to get your ballistic charts and then record your ballistic charts is going to be another necessity for long-range precision shooting. And then the last thing is going to be some way to range your targets for long-range precision shooting. Now, there's another misconception when it comes to rangefinders. Lots of people assume that if you buy a rangefinder that says 1,000 yards and in, that you're going to have no problem lasing targets out to 1,000 yards and be able to get instant feedback and get consistent feedback at those types of distances. And that is just not the case. Most rangefinders, if they say 1,000 yards, that is in perfect conditions on just the right day. Most of the time, a 1,000-yard rangefinder will not actually consistently give you ranges out to 1,000 yards. And to get a rangefinder that is going to give you consistent readings out to 1,000 yards and beyond, typically they cost a significant amount more of money than most people are willing to spend. Now there's like the SIG Kilo, I think that's the Kilo, but the SIG rangefinders, they are some very good rangefinders that typically will allow you to range out to 2,000 yards or around 2,000 yards pretty consistently. But if you plan to range beyond that, you're either going to need to spend a whole lot of money on rangefinders or do what I do typically when I'm shooting out to those types of distances. Or a lot of my ranging is done with a GPS rangefinder. So I use a rangefinder called GPS tape measure, and it allows me to mark my current position and then mark the position at my target, and it will give me a exact distance between those two with using GPS to tell me that distance. And typically it's accurate within 3 yards. I mean, a lot of times I find that it's accurate even within that. So some sort of range or some sort of way to range your target is going to be a requirement. And GPS rangefinders, if you are just doing target shooting where you're not in a kinetic environment or a hunting situation, GPS rangefinders are a great way to range your target at whatever distance you're trying to shoot at. And then another way to use GPS, there's several different apps. I have one of them that I use from time to time that allows you to mark your current position. And then if you have, say, a deer out in the field and it's standing right next to a tree, you can drop a pin on that tree and it will give you the exact distance through GPS from your current position to that pin. So there are a few different ways that if you are trying to range your targets, that you can do it without spending a whole lot of money on really high-end rangefinders. So these are the things that I find that are basically a requirement if you plan to be successful at long-range precision shooting. So I hope this was helpful. I hope if you're looking to get into long-range precision shooting, this gives you something to look at and something to a checklist for the things that you might need. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.